no anime guy. I don't really care about Azur Lane. I've never gotten into Azur Lane, so it's
Looking
not
for
my
lava
thing.
in all the wrong places. Looking for lava.
Nice one, Leo. Yes, that is what we are going to look at. I'm gonna check out the clownfish video. There are a shit ton of these out there. I want to look at the clownfish one because, like I said, out of all of the videos that are out there, the only other one that I might want to look at, and I'm not even sure if he put out a video on it, would be Drinker. But Clownfish generally has a more even viewpoint, an even keel viewpoint, regarding like news in the entertainment space. A lot of other places really kind of go off the rails. Except for Drinker. If Drinker put on a video, I'd watch his. I don't think he'd put out a video for that. So, we'll take a look at clownfishes, and this is almost a 20-minute video, so I'm kind of curious how in depth he's gonna get into this, because it's entirely possible that they already may have someone to replace her, and there's already news about the person that's going to replace her. So let's find out. I may shift over if both Neon and Geeky are talking, because I don't want to cover up Geeky, because Geeky's so cute and fiery. So if Geeky's on screen, I will shift over, and thank you, Leo. Yeah, so if Geeky's part of the team tonight, I'll shift over, and Neon, sorry, I'm covering you up, but Geeky is so cute and fiery, I go want to cover her up. So, let's see if there's more to it than just she is quote-unquote stepping down.
Hey guys,
and let me know if the volume's okay.
Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello. Sorry, Neon. You get covered.
My inside sources say that Kathleen Kennedy's getting fired at the end of the year. Yeah.
For real this time?
For realsies. It only took 8 years for her to finally get going.
Oh.
Yeah, so this is actually coming from Puck News, and all the media outlets are running with it, so I'm assuming it's valid, or they...
Wait. She's not gone yet. And they're saying, okay, he's obviously getting into this. They're saying, oh, she's going to be fired, not she's stepping down. And yeah, that's why I wanted to read this news, is they have been saying she's going to get fired. Stepping down at the end of the year? Okay. We'll let it cook and see. But again, we've heard shit like this before. We have heard shit like this before. And it's she's leaving supposedly at the end of 2025. So I'll let the story cook, but I don't know. We've heard this before. We have heard that she's leaving. Either she's fired or she's stepping down. We have heard that she's leaving a lot. So let's let this cook.
Would have backpedaled by now. Last night, the news broke that she is reportedly stepping down from Lucasfilm at the end of the year. Good.
Yeah, well, it's about damn time, if true. You know
yeah,
what?
if true.
I'm not going to get my hopes up anymore, because I know her one contract was pretty much ending last year, and she's still there. So,
yeah, Geeky's absolutely right. Don't get your hopes up too high, because we've heard this so many fucking times. I'll believe it when I see it. We have seen these stories so many fucking times that KK is leaving, she's gonna be fired. 10 months is a long time to go. And yeah, her contract ended last year, but she's still here. Kathleen Kennedy's contract ended last year, but she's still in this position. She's still not gone. So, and Miles, that is the other question. And I don't know if they're going to discuss that in this. Well, and that's what scares me, Atanashi, because a lot of people are excited for the second season of Andor. if Andor does well, she may stay on. If Andor succeeds, they may say, hey, Kathleen, Andor did really well. How about you stick around? Since obviously Andor's success can be directly attributed to your fucking involvement.
Good riddance to bad rubbish. She was poison to Star Wars and other
Oh,
franchises.
God, yes. Primarily Star Wars, although I do believe she may have had a hand in the Indiana Jones god-awful conclusion to his story. God help us all. Like, I do believe Kathleen Kennedy had a major hand in basically giving one of the greatest everyman heroes of multiple generations the absolute worst fucking ending you could possibly conceive of. Like, she's of Lucasfilm. So yeah, it would have been, so she would have had a major hand in the demise of Indiana Jones. And she did. Like, she basically ruined one of the greatest everyman heroes of multiple generations. She fucked Willow. Like, she fucked Willow like crazy. And Star Wars, it speaks for itself. She, what she did to Star Wars speaks for itself. Like, everything she touches dies. Literally. Everything she has touched has gone straight to the shit. And that's why there have been so many instances of people saying, oh, she's done, she's gone, it's over, blah, blah, blah. And that's why I say, I'll believe it when I see it. We've heard this too many fucking times. Too many fucking times right now. We've heard this, and that's why I'm not holding my breath until she's actually until the door hits her ass on the way out. I take this with a grain of salt.
So I'm like, sure,
yeah,
I'll believe it when I see it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think in this case, she's in her 70s. She
This bitch
sold
has
her
the reverse Midas touch. Everything she touches turns from gold to shit.
In Lucasfilm, yeah. Funny enough, Benj, I said the exact same thing about my Hassan video that I posted yesterday. That's what I actually titled my Hassan video that I posted on YouTube today. That exact thing. Except about that he's a bitch. Even though he is. No, not yet, Alec. Not yet. You leave the trebuchet in standby. No prepping yet.
House, I think, a year or two ago. And she apparently wasn't very happy about the South Park thing. And Disney's course correcting right now. Like, look, you might not see, well, okay. In some ways, they're course correcting. In other ways, they're digging themselves a deeper hole.
She didn't like the South Park thing. Well, here's the thing: don't earn it.
Don't earn it.
You earned that they even made fun of you. You're such a joke, and it makes no sense to anyone that South Park even made fun of you.
That's what scares me, anime guy.
You earned the scorn. So let's talk about this and what this might mean. And I'm gonna be honest. I actually agree with Forbes. Eric Kane on Forbes is like, yeah, this might not save Star Wars. This probably isn't gonna save Star Wars.
It's too late.
No.
But I hope they.
Oh yeah, Kathleen Kennedy being gone will not save Star Wars. There's one thing and one thing alone that can save Star Wars, and it's basically the same formula to save Doctor Who. All of these franchises that have been destroyed by these companies, Doctor Who, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, etc., etc., all of these like major beloved franchises that have been destroyed by Hollywood right now, not just a few years, J10 exactly. Leave it the fuck alone and do not touch it in any way, shape, or form for 10 years. Doctor Who, shelve it for 10 years. Star Wars, shelve it for 10 years. Lord of the Rings, shelve it for another 10 years and don't let Amazon fucking touch it. That is the only way to fix it. And then when you do revive it, you bring in people that actually recognize the OG quality of these franchises. Do not bring in anybody that says they like the new versions. Bring in people that have respect for the OG versions of these franchises, because they are the ones that will treat it right. What they need to do is shove it for 10 years and basically reboot it while completely ignoring all of the new canon. Ignore all of that. Like for Star Wars, reboot it, say 20 years post Return of the Jedi.
Kathleen Kennedy has ruined what made the galaxy far, far away great. The Force demands her removal.
Well, I mean, if Lord Vader says she must be removed, she must be removed. But just put it on ice for 10 years, reboot it, like, not even 20 years, reboot it like 50 years post Return of the Jedi, and do something new. Reboot it 50 years after Return of the Jedi, pretend that everything Disney did with Star Wars never happened. It does not exist. It's in the multiverse. Disney loves the multiverse, so pretend like that all happened in a different multiverse. Well, okay, reboot is an improper word. Sorry, I'm using an incorrect word. Do a sequel that ignores everything Disney has done in Star Wars up to this point. Ignore it all. Have the sequel take place 50 years in the future. That way, you don't have to worry about injecting Luke, Leia, or Han into the franchise. Bring all new characters, but bring in all new characters that are written by people who have full respect for the OG Star Wars, for what they are classifying as the legends. And just do all new stories. You can reference Luke, Leia, and Han. Have statues of them or what have you. But, we're sad. Have people working on it that respect the OG. That's it. And basically ignore everything Disney did with Star Wars. Everything Disney has done with Star Wars up to this point is no longer canon. It does not exist. That's the only way this will work. Well, no, it's promise with New Jedi Order. You're counting on Luke. That you have to do this without bringing Luke, Leia, or Han into it, because unfortunately Carrie Fisher has passed away. And Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill unfortunately, they're too old to do this anymore. So you have to try and do it without Luke, Leia, and Han. And, hi, Nixaros, thank you for the Prime. And yes, Starkiller, I've seen this argument. Motherfucking Starkiller is canon. Okay? I don't give a fuck what anybody says. When they came out with The Force Unleashed, Lucasfilm itself said Starkiller is canon to the Star Wars universe, because this was long before Disney ever got its grubby fucking mitts on it. Starkiller is canon to the Star Wars universe. This was said by Lucasfilm itself when the game came out, because the game was made by LucasArts. He's canon he's canon just before the events of Episode 4 and for Episode 4. And then whether or not you consider Force Unleashed 2 canon is a debate. Force Unleashed 1 is canon. 100% canon. Okay? Desert, if Disney does not consider it a canon, I absolutely consider it canon. End of story. I don't give a fuck what Disney has to say about what they consider canon, because Disney obviously didn't know what the fuck they were doing when they got Star Wars.
I don't think it's possible. I feel the same way about Star Wars that I feel with Doctor Who. I think it's so far gone at this point. The brand is so damaged that I don't see there being any kind of a comeback anytime soon. But let's talk about the strange case of Kathleen Kennedy and why the hell Disney kept her years beyond her expiration date.
Oh yeah, she's way past expiration.
I mean, she's definitely it was. Yeah. Anyway, before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, rants, guys. You will get a woohoo if you do.
Woohoo!
If you're looking to get,
I do not trust Disney to bring Mara Jade into the mix. Because what they'll do is if Disney Star Wars brings Mara Jade into their Star Wars franchise, they'll basically she won't be a redhead and she'll be black. And she'll probably be gay too. She probably won't even be married to Luke. She'll probably be a lesbian, a black lesbian. Well, now, Timothy Zahn writing it doesn't control who they cast. Timothy Zahn can write whatever script he wants. He doesn't have any control over whom they cast.
If I could go back in time, I would stop George from signing Lucasfilm over to Disney and Kathleen.
Yeah, it's only. Desert, that's what I'm saying. If Disney brings Mara Jade into it, they're going to bring in an imposter and call her Mara Jade, who is not Mara Jade in any way, shape, or form. That's what I'm saying, if Disney does it. That's why I don't want Disney to bring Mara Jade in any show. Like, theoretically, they could bring her into, like, theoretically, they could bring her in, like, the Mandalorian movie that's going to be coming out or something. And I don't want them to. I absolutely do not want them to. They could also try injecting her into the Andor series because she was around during that time too as the Emperor's Hand. I do not want them to. That's what I'm saying. I do not fucking want them to. Let this thing rest for 10 years and then let actual competent people that actually love OG Star Wars work on it.
Get notifications. If you're not getting notifications on YouTube,
I know,
go out to
Leo.
clowntfishtv.substack.com.
And that's a possibility.
Every time we post a video, we'll post a link over there. You will get notified. Not our fault if YouTube is not sending them. So this comes from Variety. Star Wars boss Kathleen Kennedy is planning to exit Lucasfilm at the end of 2025.
Me neither, Andrea.
Hopefully.
Me neither.
Hopefully.
For realsies.
For realsies. Is it for real this time? She intends to retire after her current contract ends, according to a source with knowledge of her plans. A separate source close to Kennedy, however, dismissed the initial report by Puck as pure speculation and said nothing has been decided. All the media outlets are running with it. I think there's some truth to it. I mean, she already sold her house. Star Wars is at an all-time low. In fact, people were talking the other day on Twitter. I saw a post about how Star Wars, the toys, had their best year ever in like 2010 or 2011. And this was... years after the prequels, they were, between movies, and Star Wars toys were still selling very, very well because people.
Atsunashi, to your point, there's no one in Hollywood good enough to write any good movie right now in mainstream. Like any of the major tentpole franchises, there's no one in Hollywood good enough. It's not just Star Wars. It's all of the major franchises. I don't trust anyone in Hollywood with practically anything right now. That's why I champion the independents that actually have love for the franchises that they write stories for. Oh yeah. Yeah, and if there's that whole thing with what's her name? What is her name? The actress who played Kara. Like there was that whole kerfuffle when they fired her because of her fucking tweet.
I just want to share the bullcrap Disney did to the ships in Star Wars. The New Republic capital ship only had like 20 to 30 turbo, while the ones in the Civil War the Rebels capital ships had 80 turbo lasers.
Well, because Disney doesn't care about canon. They Gina Carano, thank you. Yeah, everybody fucking loved Gina Carano as Cara Dune, and she puts out one fucking tweet that is far less bad than half the shit their own people put out, and they fired her. Like, I don't trust Disney to write children's stories anymore. That's how fucking sad it is. You can't trust Disney to even write a children's story anymore. And what was it that someone said? Hang on. Someone said something. Wait, where is it? About recasting Luke. I think if they did a sequel, and the sequel was set, say, 20 years after the events of Return of the Jedi, and they recast the roles of Luke, Leia, and Han. And they basically went with a storyline at least similar to the Timothy Zahn story. I think people would be fine with recasting Luke, Leia, and Han. No, Revan, I disagree. I think right now people would be fine with the recasting of Luke, Leia, and Han. Given the circumstances, how Carrie Fisher has passed away, and how, Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford are far too old anymore. If they did a sequel that basically everything Disney has done never existed, it's been thrown into a black hole, and they recast Luke, Leia, and Han and followed like a similar story path of what Timothy Zahn did, and you get Luke's actual academy. You get him, the whole thing with the Republic. You can even tail into the Yongzhong the Vong War. With recast, people would be perfectly accepting of it. They would, cause yeah, well, Desert, I think if they lead into it, don't start with it,
What
but you can
Hollywood
lead to
needs
it.
is to hire fanfic writers as screenwriters, since the actual
an idea.
screenwriters have no respect for the canon.
It's an idea, Leo. Unfortunately, fanfic writers are not screenwriters. It's kind of like why I can write a book, I cannot write a screenplay. It's not my skill set is not screenplays. My skill set is writing books. So it's a good thought, but I mean, yeah, a recast might not. There are plenty of people that won't like a recast, but I think a large segment of the populace of Star Wars fans would probably be okay with a recast of the Major 3, as long as they have good chemistry with one another, and they basically take everything Disney came out with and threw in a black hole. I think most people would be okay with it, and even those that might not be okay with it, if they do well with it, could be forgiving of it too. Yeah, and again, this is do this after 10 years hiatus from anything Star Wars. Bear that in mind. I'm talking about a 10-year hiatus from doing anything Star Wars related.
Loved those characters. And then as soon as Disney got a hold of it, the whole thing collapsed.
Mm-hmm. They are the Empire, in case they didn't figure that out yet.
Kennedy joined Lucasfilm in 2012 as coach.
Geeky, are you forgetting that, what's her name? The dumb bitch who did the Acolyte. What was her name again? God, that's how important she is. I can't even remember her fucking name. But anyway, the stupid bitch who was the showrunner for the Acolyte, she identified as fucking Sith in interviews. Yeah, Leslie Headland. Yeah. Yeah, in Geeky, are we forgetting that Leslie Headland literally identified as a Sith? In interviews that she did for the Acolyte. Yes, Harvey Weinstein's secretary. Yes, I know. People, yeah, I know.
Co-chair alongside Star Wars creator George Lucas shortly after Lucas exited his post as Disney acquired the company for $4 billion and she became president. Now,
that's why I said the Timothy Zahn thing.
Because, I mean, when she was first announced, and Star Wars Holocron actually brought this up on Twitter, her name was attached to so many of these great 80s, 90s movies.
So people were like, oh, this is good. This is a good way to go. Yeah.
I thought it was too. I'm like, oh, she understands 80s movies. She's perfect for the role.
Okay. I will point out again, being listed as a producer does not mean you had a whole lot of input. Don't forget, she was basically George Lucas's secretary, essentially, for all of these. All of these you know, and like for the Jurassic Park trilogy, what the fuck did she do on that? It's yeah, that exactly. Something I thought she served coffee to Lucas, not Spielberg. Although I could be wrong. It could be Spielberg. But yeah, she just because she is listed as something for these movies doesn't mean she did fuck all to make them great. Her rag was background and minimal at best. She didn't write them, she didn't direct them, she didn't star in them, and she sure as fuck didn't produce them. She was probably running coffee, and because she was like George Lucas's personal coffee fetcher, they gave her a producer's credit or something. That's it.
Not realizing what she did or didn't do when she was working with Steven Spielberg. Part of the reason she was there as long as she was could be that George Lucas built something into the contract so Disney couldn't just turn around because she was his pick. And
I don't know if he did.
I don't know.
But...
I'm giving up on like
you know what? Here's the thing though. I've never seen a company do everything. Like if there is something that you can do that was going to shoot yourself in the foot and screw you up, Disney does it. So I don't know if they're angling for write-offs or what, but I've never seen a company like you have to try to fail that hard at this point. Just across the board with Disney. And it doesn't make sense to me why Kennedy's still there. Especially after The Last Jedi. And the fact that it didn't do well, it fell off a cliff right after. I mean, it started out okay, and then fell off a cliff. And there was clearly no plan, clearly no overreaching story. No. Then you had Ryan.
And that is proven. When they did The Rise of Skywalker, they had no script. Rise of Skywalker literally had no plan. They literally just threw everything at the wall to see what sticks. The Last Jedi may have been planned somewhat. After The Last Jedi, they had no fucking clue what to do. To the point of when they started filming, I think the script might have was still maybe being written. When they started filming The Rise of Skywalker, they didn't know what to do. They didn't know what the story was. They had no fucking plan going into Rise of Skywalker. And that's why Last of Jedi sucked. Why Rise of Skywalker sucked even more. They both sucked on kind of equal fucking levels. And it was just an absolute shit show. The Last Jedi was the beginning of the end for Star Wars. Like, The Force Awakens was okay. I will give The Force Awakens an okay. Last Jedi was the beginning and the end. And it literally went downhill from Last Jedi. Everything that they did, with the notable exception of maybe season 1 and 2 of Mandalorian. And I know some people like Andor. I never saw Andor, so I know nothing about it. That's it.
New trilogy sucks but doesn't swallow.
Oh, excuse me.
And Johnson and company out there literally attacking fans, and you completely split the fandom, and those are your dollars in half, and then by Rise of Skywalker, you divided that even more.
I always thought Rogue One was okay.
If the money was what you wanted to make, these choices were not good. Then you had a win with Favreau and Filoni with The Mandalorian, and then you found a way to fuck that up too.
Yep.
Yeah,
exactly right.
Because they're saying if it's true, if she is leaving in December 2025, she'll be leaving before The Mandalorian and Grogu comes out. But that being said, like, how much was she actually involved in that, right? There's been some discussion that she really wasn't involved in it. But yeah, that fell off a cliff too. That was like Star Wars was starting to lurch back to life with The Mandalorian. Okay, people are like, okay.
Yeah. They had something. This is typical Disney today. They had something good with Mandalorian. When they brought out Mandalorian, people were like, okay, Star Wars is back. This is good. We are enjoying this. And everybody's like, okay, Star Wars is back. And like everything Disney, you had something great and you fucked it up. Big time. Like everything Disney. They had something great with Mandalorian, and then they fucked it up. It's looping. Alex, refresh. Somebody tell Alex to refresh. Like Rogue One, people like Rogue One. I thought Rogue One was fine. I didn't think Rogue One was a bad movie. It didn't really. Rogue One, unfortunately, didn't do a great job of holding my interest.
What pissed me off the most about Rise of Skywalker was they turned Vader's sacrifice into a joke.
Yeah, they did. That's what. Well, that's why they had no idea what the fuck they were doing. That was the problem. That's why I said they had no story. They had no fucking clue what they were doing, and they were just like Rise of Skywalker was literally a movie that flew by the seat of its pants and failed. Well, Revan, that the Vader scene in Rogue One is the one thing I did like about it. That's what grabbed my attention. The last 5 fucking minutes of Rogue One captured my attention more than the rest of the movie. Again, not to say that Rogue One was a bad movie. Far from it. I don't think it was a bad movie. It didn't grab me. But those last 5 minutes sure as fuck grabbed me. Yeah, that's probably the one time they did Vader correctly. That scene in Rogue One is the one time we saw Vader portrayed properly. Even with the Obi-Wan Kenobi series where he showed how strong he was in the Force by stopping a ship from taking off, I'm sorry, it still didn't portray Vader properly. That scene in Rogue One did. That was the one thing.
We'll come back. We'll give it a shot. And then it was
And
like
yeah,
a 1-2
the space
punch.
battle was in Rogue One was awesome.
The show got stupid, right? And then the Gina Carano situation. And, so they just like blew off both legs with a shotgun at that point. And now people are like, you know what? Fool me once. And we're out. We're out.
Completely. Well, we're already seeing it. Even the shows are doing bad. Acolyte. We all know what happened there. Skeleton Crew, people say it wasn't that bad, but people didn't watch it. No. Because they were over it with the Acolyte.
Same with Andor. Andor,
they were over it with everything. Watched it,
but people have said it's actually pretty good. But
second
who cares?
Season comes out in April, so
who cares?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Excuse me. Yeah, and Andor, unfortunately, may suffer the same fate that Skeleton Crew did. Like I didn't see Skeleton Crew. I haven't watched any Disney Star Wars. I refuse. I refuse to watch any Disney Star Wars right now. I've heard by all accounts Skeleton Crew is a perfectly fine series. But no one watched. Skeleton Crew is basically a bunch of kids that I think it's like a bunch of kids that stumble upon a spaceship. The spaceship like jumps to light speed and sends them rocketing out into the galaxy, and they're trying to make their way home. I think. I don't know. But from everything I heard, it was the movie. The Skeleton Crew series was fine. It was a decent series, but nobody fucking cared. No, I think that's what Skeleton Crew was too, V-Dog. They kind of took a page from the Voyager book, I think. At least I believe that was. I could be wrong. Like I said, I never saw the show. But nobody watched it because everybody is done with Star Wars. That's the problem. Everybody is fucking done with Star Wars. They've been burned too many times, and they're telling Disney, we don't fucking care anymore. Andor season 2 is coming out. Are people gonna watch it? Sure. Is it going to get the same level of watching that the first season did? Probably not. Because everybody is just done with Disney Star Wars. They are in general, people are like, fuck this, I'm done with Disney Star Wars. You have fucked shit up so badly, I don't fucking care anymore. And yeah, it's the same thing with Marvel. It's the same thing with all of these major tentpole franchises that these corporations are fucking up 6 ways to Sunday. It's just our focus right here is on Disney and Star Wars in particular.
The sequel trilogy, I mean, look, this is beyond a dead horse, right? This is a gutted tauntaun. But the sequel trilogy, there was no plan. That should have been the first indication that, like, okay, yeah, she's got to go. You can't even get 3 movies. You can't even get a damn sticky note to kind of sketch out what's going to happen in each of these movies. The bare bones.
Yeah.
And I understand that's what George Lucas did, but he's the guy who made it. They were making it up as
What's
they go.
writing 101? I mean,
Yeah.
if you're writing or doing any kind of creative job or something like this, and you know you're gonna have multiple, episodes, like different movies in this, you have to figure out, okay, we're gonna have 3 parts. We're doing a trilogy like we used to do. What's the main, middle, and the end, and you know what you're gonna do, where you're heading. They were just setting stuff up. I'm doing it, letting somebody else do what they wanted.
Yeah.
And it was a complete disaster. And then they tried to walk it back in at the end and bring the emperor back and all that shit. Complete disaster. And that's just part of the disasters under her. There's been so many. It's a running joke now. Creative differences. Everybody gets fired. Why do we have the little Leia show instead of actual?
Given how much
show
like
like
protege Filoni was to Lucas with Clone Wars, I wonder how many favors Kennedy had to do to get his position.
Revan, I'm not gonna touch that one because I don't even want to think about that. That's fair. I don't even want to think about that. Don't put that kind of thought in my head. Alex.
Because of Kennedy and co.
Yeah, they're actually bringing up in Variety. They said, the triad of Skywalker-centric blockbusters experience diminishing returns. They said The Force Awakens did, $2 billion globally. Rise of Skywalker, it did do $1 billion, but that's like half as much as The Force Awakens. You can see it movie after movie, more and more.
It should have got more and more and more. It should have snowballed the other way.
It should have. Solo lost money, and Solo, I didn't think was terrible.
I was not.
Jones.
I was not a fan of Solo. I didn't think it was all that good. Solo was another one of those where they basically tried to rewrite history on that one, and they had to do, it wasn't good. I didn't like it. I thought that the lead actor who played Han was fine. I thought he worked well with what he had for the script to be Han. I thought he could pull off being a young Harrison Ford, a young Han Solo. And if he had a better script, it would have been better. But they went so stupid with it, like how he got his last name, and basically they changed up like how the rebellion started in the first place. And I think they even changed up how Han got the Falcon in the first place. It was bad. It was really bad. Like they even fucked up the goddamn Kessel Run. Like they screwed up the fucking Kessel Run, for God's sake. How can you screw up something that simple? But yeah, that's why it lost money. Is because this is back when Star Wars was still popular, and people went in like, okay, we're getting the origin story for Han Solo, and Disney decided to kick the audience in the nuts with the origin story. That's why it lost money. That's what happens when you spit in the face of your paying customers.
They have that up too.
Indiana Jones, it only did $383
million
globally
very end
against a
now,
$295 million budget, losing around $140 million for the studio.
Solo suffered from the fact that once again, Kennedy stepped in, fired the directors, and tossed the story and script.
Shocking. Is that... Wait, Leo, is that how he did it? Is that... I thought he did it... I thought they did the whole thing with Kessel differently in the origin of that. I could be wrong. So you had to reshoot the whole thing. But and yeah, and of course, leave us not forget that they made Lando Calrissian fucking pansexual so that he was fucking his navigator robot co-pilot. Like, literally, no one asked for this. Why would you make Lando Calrissian, who was a ladies' man? That was the whole concept of him in the OG is he was a ladies' man, and then they turned him into a person that would literally fuck anything, even a robot. Like, you know what? Lucas gave you guys something nice, and you fucked it up. Yeah, but euthanasia it wasn't. It's not like this was. It's not like it was a humanoid droid with synthetic skin. This was like, no, fucking no. And let's not forget that the droid in question.
Every droid is a sex bot if you try hard enough.
Well, apparently Lando did try hard enough. And let's not forget that the droid in question that Lando was fucking was an activist. Literally an activist. That droid was literally a self-insert for all of the blue-haired Shriek writers that they hired for this to be a blue-haired activist freak show writers to basically be their voice, because the whole time in the movie, she's screaming about droid rights. The whole fucking time. So, yeah, they royally fucked Solo up.
They said Star Wars has struggled to return to the big screen after The Rise of Skywalker, but, she's had so many other movies in the production that she's canceled. They're all shelved.
Patty Jenkins,
James Mangold, Charmin Obaid-Chinoy, Taika Waititi.
Every time you turn around, there's somebody else assigned to the Rey movie, the Rey trilogy, whatever. They're constantly
that one's dead.
Creative difference firing after another Lucasfilm parade with this woman. And then, and everything gets changed. Like Obi-Wan's supposed to be one thing, they got a new writer, completely changed it, and then we had a little Leia show. And all that crap.
Yeah, because she keeps wanting to. I believe it's her. I believe it's her at the top making these decisions. She keeps wanting to push Star Wars in a more female-centric direction.
That was what Kathleen Kennedy couldn't get through her thick fucking skull. Why people didn't like Rey? She was a goddamn Mary Sue, and she was boring. She was so fucking boring. Nobody gave a shit about her, and people were actually hoping she lost. No, she didn't. She started off being the bestest ever. And yeah, I mean, whether or not this is due to Daisy Ridley's acting ability, I have no idea, because I haven't seen Daisy Ridley in literally anything else, because I have no interest. Yeah, well, people were saying that Rey should never have been the lead in the first place. People wanted Finn. People wanted Finn to be the main character. I thought Finn was going to be the main fucking character. When I first saw the trailers for The Force Unleashed, I thought Finn was going to be the main character. I was very surprised that he wasn't. He was part of the ensemble and then got relegated to basically becoming a background character, screaming Rey's name for the whole fucking third movie. Finn absolutely should have been the lead. He should have been the stormtrooper that realized that essentially has the come to Jesus moment that he does, and it turns out he's actually a Jedi, or he is Force sensitive. And thus he gets the redemption arc, where he goes from being a stormtrooper. They could have actually stretched out his time as a stormtrooper a little bit longer, and then.
My first clue that Rey was a Mary Sue was when she Uno reversed Kylo Ren's mind, reading back on him. That is peak BS.
Oh, it was just the start of it. Yeah, like, it would have been far better. They would have had a 1,000 times better movie if Finn was the lead, Poe was his partner, like they did like a buddy cop thing, and Finn was the Force sensitive one, where he's the one that becomes the Jedi, and he gets the redemption arc. And yeah, that's what I was saying, Zeb. Like, don't have him suddenly realize being a stormtrooper is bad right away. Start off with like the first half of the movie of Force Awakens as him being a stormtrooper, thinking he's doing the right thing, and then realizing about halfway through, oh shit, I'm not the good guy here. And then he can break away. And during processing to break away, he realizes he's force sensitive. And that can dovetail into him going down the path of the Jedi. Not even like Jedi. You could have him going down the path of the Grey Jedi, because all the Jedi are supposedly gone. Have him go down the path of the Grey Jedi, where he's not affiliated with the light side of the Force or the dark side. He's sitting in that gray middle ground. You could actually play around with that. And, like, they could have done such great things with Finn if he was the lead. But of course, Kathleen Kennedy says the Force is female, and so you have to have your Mary fucking Sue character be the bestest Jedi ever, and just, like, make her boring as fuck, so that everybody literally wanted her to die. Everybody literally wanted Rey to die, so Finn could take over as the lead. That's not how you write a main character in fucking Star Wars, you dumb cunt.
And this doesn't work. I mean, we've seen time and time and time again. They've had, you know, female protagonists. We've seen the toys sit in the shells. They don't know their audience. I mean, you can want to change the audience, but you're stuck with the audience that you have, right?
Here's the thing. They've had an audience built up for decades. And we showed that study before where they looked at Marvel and they looked at Star Wars. And where Marvel can have a couple crossover into more female-centric audience, Star Wars is solidly in the male side. The closest they got was Deal with the Mandalorian towards a female audience. And that does not mean that there aren't diverse people who like Star Wars. There's always been diverse people who like Star Wars. There've always
They could have brought a female audience in with the main Star Wars. If they brought in Mara fucking Jade, they would have gotten their... If you wanted to have a badass female Jedi, bring in Mara Jade. Like, seriously, they could have brought in Mara Jade into the sequel trilogy. Not only would they have their badass female Jedi, you'd have a badass female Jedi that fans of Star Wars absolutely fucking love already. Yeah, Finn could have been trained by Mara Jade. Yeah, that's awesome. That would have been fucking fantastic. You would have your badass female Jedi that fans recognize and love. People fucking love Mara Jade. They were screaming for Mara Jade to be included. And that would also bring in your female audience because you have a badass female character, Jedi, that both new female fans would love because she's a strong woman, and OG fans would love because people fucking love Mara Jade. Like, how do you fuck up this simple concept this fucking badly? This was so simple, and somehow dumb fuck screwed it up in the absolute worst fucking way possible. Yeah, Scarlett Johansson could have done Mara Jade. Absolutely. Absolutely she could have.
always been fair. Look at the pictures. People waiting in the line. Men, women, kids, all different races, everything else. Everybody loves Star Wars. It was not something that needed diversified. And they keep trying to make it into something else, like the X over Luke's face and all this other crap. And all they did was ruin it. You have decades of fans, and you somehow managed to you got what you got. You got what the new fans you wanted.
I don't know,
but they're
Ahsoka.
not that many. And
wait,
you got what you wanted.
Wait, Tanito, do you mean Ahsoka? Your spelling was throwing me off. Okay, you're misspelling her name. It's Ahsoka. It's A-S-H, yeah, for A-H-S, yeah. That I was wondering, like, what the fuck are you talking? Yeah, you're talking about Ahsoka. People liked Ahsoka,
Van
yes.
Doomcock has some really nasty things to say about Hollywood.
Oh, I've heard that.
He is really opinionated about Hollywood.
I have not listened to Doomcock in a while. I used to listen to Doomcock a lot, and yeah, he's the one that broke this. He's the one that basically ruined the Rise of Skywalker months before it ever came out. He basically leaked the entire story of the Rise of Skywalker like 6 or 8 months before it ever launched. Because the script got leaked to him or something. And so he revealed the entire story for Rise of Skywalker. And that's why, and how bad it was. But I haven't listened to Doomcock in a while. I just haven't. Maybe I should. I need something to do while I'm at work. I need some good things to listen to while I'm working. Maybe I'll start watching some Doomcock. Yeah, oh, actually me too. Like, that's the hard part. You can see the potential there. And it hurts that it was so wasted. And by the way, J10, thank you for the gifted to Nick. I don't know if Nick is ever going to come to my stupid little stream, but thank you. Ahsoka was cool, but Ahsoka was a good character. And Rosario Dawson did a decent job in the Mandalorian series. From what I heard, they royally fucked her up in her own series. They basically fucked her character up over in her own series, which is Disney par for the course. Doomcock is, Kevin, Doomcock is like, kind of like, you know, Clownfish TV, Neurotic, Critical Drinker, Geeks and Gamers, you know, he basically does, reporting on modern entertainment.
You know, unfortunately, that's not a good thing.
Yeah, it's not a good thing. They basically are left with, and this is just like what happens with.
I already talked about that. Yeah, I already talked about that.
Classic franchise that chases the quote unquote modern audience. They get a bunch of like
Dragon. I love Critical
freeloaders that don't really buy stuff, but they cause a lot of problems and they complain online. And
it's not even them now; it's the mainstream media, and that's the actors. Like in the Acolyte, the actors were out there.
The actors
going after people. Yeah. Like what gets me about this is. People are allowed to say that they like these shows, and you're supposed to like, okay. And I'm like, if you like it, you're allowed to like it. I have no problem with it. Where I have a problem with it is if I say I don't like it, then I'm a terrible person, istophobe, and they think they have a right to call you names and bully if you don't agree with them. And I don't know. Hell no.
Well, the whole thing.
Well, because they don't want to get called out for their indoctrination. Let's not forget about that. Okay, which one was it that I was calling that out where they were basically which series was it that was it Acolyte that basically they were grooming, that they were basically doing grooming. It might have been Acolyte. You're like with Acolyte, they were basically trying to tell people you don't know what's actually good and evil, and the bad guys are actually the good guys. You as the audience are just too stupid to realize this, and they're basically trying to flip around. That's why fucking the cunt Leslie Headland said she identifies as a fucking Sith. You know, the moment you have a director of a Star Wars product that says in an interview that she identifies as a Sith, i.e. the bad guys, and is making a show that is reeing at their audience, the Sith are not really the bad guys. They're not really evil. You should love the Sith. When the Sith are literally the evil bad guys of Star Wars, they're not the misunderstood anti-heroes. I mean, what the fuck did they expect? No, you don't, Canito. No, you don't.
With Lucasfilm was, I mean, that rabbit hole went deep. I mean, you want to talk about all the stuff that's, you know, coming to light with, you know, the regime change in the White House and Musk and, you know, uncovering what was going on with Twitter and the USAID supposedly bankrolling journalism and all that. I 100% believe that there were people at Lucasfilm, activists at Lucasfilm, that were trying to...
The problem that Hollywood has is that they like the games industry are making media for an audience that doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. It's not just Hollywood, it's the entertainment industry writ large. The entertainment industry writ large is desperate, or they're making their products for that audience that doesn't exist. It's the whole modern audience thing where we always respond with, And where is this modern audience? Are they in the room with us right now? Here, take these pills. And Revan, like, Darth Maul is cool. Like, you can think a bad guy is cool. There's nothing wrong with saying that bad guy is cool as fuck. He is, but you can still recognize he's also a bad guy. That can be done. You can think a bad guy is cool as fuck and still understand he's the bad guy he has to lose because he's a bad guy doing bad things. That can be done. And has been done for fucking decades. Until the modern audience movement kicked in, and now bad guys are actually poor, misunderstood good guys. And there is no such thing as evil anymore. You're a scumbag if you think that way.
Shut up channels like ours.
Oh, Rewriting Ripley. The one chick was from there.
She was from there. So they were going out of their way to try to paint anybody that said
exactly,
anything negative about...
Fuck, I'm pausing them a lot. I'm sorry. Okay, so Vader is different. Vader was redeemed, but he had to sacrifice his life to do it. That's a situation of he wasn't misunderstood. Vader was not misunderstood. Vader was a bad guy. But in the end, he redeemed himself at the sacrifice of his own life. That is different. There is a difference there. Well, I'm guessing Kathleen Kennedy probably took the thing about Palpatine, what Palpatine said about the Jedi, and fucking ran with it. Granted, with the prequel series, that was another, again, as we all know, that was George Lucas basically being let off the chain, which he shouldn't have been done. He should have been kept on a leash, and he just went fucking wild. But they took that idea and they just fucking ran with it into the ground. That basically the Jedi are bad.
Star Wars as being a literal Nazi. And
the problem is so many people didn't like it. Like you can't do that because you have a whole silent majority.
Well, that's like I did the video yesterday talking about Rob Liefeld said that Kevin Feige needs to step aside, and talking about how the media is no longer defending Marvel, right? They're not defending Marvel. They're like, it is what it, because normally, like with Captain America, everybody be like, oh my God, guys, look, the bigots are mad. Look how much money Captain America made. And they're like, no, actually, this is diminishing returns movie after movie after movie. And it's kind of it feels like we're at that place with Star Wars. We've been at that place with Star Wars, at least for a couple of years now, where it's okay to say, yeah, these Disney Plus shows suck. Star Wars is a brand in decline. If you said Star Wars...
And this is because Disney's checks are probably starting to bounce with these journalists. That's why more and more of these journalists are saying, yeah, it's okay to say that Star Wars fucking sucks and that Marvel fucking sucks under the leadership of Disney, because they're not worried about their access anymore. Having access to Disney for shit like Star Wars and Marvel doesn't have the same currency value that it did 15 years ago, 20 years ago. It doesn't have the same value because no one fucking cares about either franchise anymore. I have not seen any of the latest Star Wars products. I have not seen any of the latest Marvel products. With the very notable exception of Deadpool and Wolverine. I don't fucking care about anything Disney is coming out with for Star Wars or Marvel. I do not care. They have run these two franchises into the ground, and they are dead. The only way to save all of it is to shelve the whole thing for at minimum 10 years. And then bring them back with actual good writers that actually have respect for the franchise and their respective histories. Then I might give it another chance. And the majority of the fan base thinks the same way. That is why Disney is hemorrhaging money with both the Lucasfilm franchise and the Marvel franchises. It's a very simple metric that Disney has been desperately trying to ignore, and they can't ignore it anymore. I think they are at the point, financially speaking, they can no longer ignore how much money they are losing on these two franchises. They thought they got a golden egg, and instead they ended up getting a turd in a punch bowl. Or they turned it into a turd in a punch bowl. And they realize now, I think they have to change.
Was in decline in 2018. We know firsthand they would call you a literal Nazi, and now it's just accepted as fact. Star Wars is in decline, right? And you can point the finger at Kathleen Kennedy.
No, he did, Jay. You're right about that.
She's at the, and because it's not just Star Wars, it was also Indiana Jones. It was also Willow.
Yep.
Every franchise of value she ruined.
Right.
Yep.
Everything Lucasfilm had that had value on her watch became completely devalued. Okay.
Well, yeah, why? Because every one of those things they tried to make it girl power.
Girl power.
Modern audience.
They kept trying to change the audience. And again, people keep saying, well, there's nothing wrong with making it female. There were women who loved all those shows before. The male audience predominant.
That or yet, we want to make stuff for women to enjoy. Come up with something original, you stupid cow. I'm okay with well-written girl power. I'm fine with that. Like I said, they put Mara Jade into Star Wars. Fucking there's your girl power right there. That would please both the female audience and OG Star Wars fans. Like, I'm fine with girl power if it's well-written. If it's a good character. Not a plank of wood like Rey. Okay? Rey is not girl power. She's a plank of wood with a wig on it and a lightsaber shoved through the center of it. No, Willow is an OG Lucasfilm movie from like the 80s that they dug out of its crypt and paraded around for a bit before lighting it on fire. Oh, absolutely, Bafuka. Princess Leia was a strong female character. Absolutely. Absolutely she was. And here's the thing. You would have gotten plenty of, I don't know if I would classify Padme as a strong female character. She had a couple of moments, but I don't know. I would be hard pressed to she kind of just sat around in the third movie and just pined for Anakin. That's not very strong female character or girl power. Yeah, the animated series, your joke, I'll agree with that. The animated series, they did do much better with her in that. Much better. Like they brought these franchises. And you want a girl power thing? There are canonically characters they could have used for their girl power, and not sucked with the OG canon. They could have done this, or, and I know this might shock everybody, they could have done something original. Except Hollywood doesn't know how to do original anymore, so they literally have to piggyback off of decades-old franchises and stomp them into the door, trying to stand on their shoulders to say, we're so much better now. Like, seriously. Yeah, they could have done a series about Leia leading the rebellion in her youth. They would have obviously had to recast the role.
Paramount did a pile of crap. Star Trek Section 31. Star Trek should be shelved for 5 years.
We're not even going to talk about that. Yeah, like, that's why I'm saying it's all the tentpole franchises. All of these corporations are ruining these decades-old, beloved franchises. Disney is not the only one that's doing it. All of the corporations are doing it. They're royally fucking.
Prominently, that's what it was. That's what it probably still is. And there's nothing wrong with that. But that does not mean that people who aren't male don't like these shows. That's not true. But that's what she did. Indiana Jones, and then to make it about his goddaughter. And then we had Willow, and then to make it about, all the princess and her
not points, Dwayne.
Girlfriend and all that. And then, we saw what happened with Star Wars, and they keep trying to push diversity and inclusion and all that crap. And there's nothing wrong with it because there was already diversity in it, but you did it in such a way that it wasn't organic. It was to push a narrative, and people are tired of it.
Yeah.
I keep thinking, like, even the Millennium Falcon, they even turned the Millennium Falcon into a chick with a chick robot.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Because the chick robot they put, for those of you who haven't seen Solo, the Falcon, I guess the reason.
Wait. Was he about to say what I think he said? Hang on.
The Millennium Falcon, they even turned the
wrong with it because there was already diversity in it, but you did it in such a way that it wasn't organic. It was to push a narrative, and people are tired of it.
I keep thinking, like, even the Millennium Falcon, they even turned the Millennium Falcon into a chick with a chick robot.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Because the chick robot they put, for those of you who haven't seen Solo, the Falcon, I guess the reason the Falcon's so temperamental is they take Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Oh my god, I forgot she was that fucking activist robot in Solo. I forgot that was voiced by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Boy, that certainly explains why they shoved her ass into Indiana Jones, doesn't it? Phoebe Waller-Bridge, her only claim to fame is like a show called Fleabag, which I never saw. She was basically Indiana Jones's goddaughter in the Dial of Destiny, the one that basically tried to take over the franchise and failed miserably. No, Tornado. No. I'm not criticizing that. I'm not criticizing the fact that the Falcon is female. It's that what they're criticizing.
Star Wars being a fantasy setting, so it is already rife with queens, princesses, baronesses, and the like. And they could have done something with that.
Yes, they could have. Yeah, it's not a criticism about the Falcon's computer being female. It's the fact that they took that robot that was basically an activist sex bot for Lando Calrissian and made her the navigation computer of the Falcon. That's, I think, what they're talking about, where it's like, go fuck yourself, Lucasfilm.
She ruined Indiana Jones too. Phoebe Waller-Bridge's droid, who I can't remember the name, they took her brain out.
Activist
droid rights. They took her brain out and stuck it in the Falcon, which is why the Falcon's such a miserable bitch, I guess. Yeah, when they can't get started half the time because they didn't say the right things.
So they're hitting the Falcon. Are they hitting a woman?
Are they slapping her? Oh my god, that's hilarious.
Work, bitch.
Yeah, it's not a criticism of I wasn't a criticism of the fact that the ship is female, because yes, of course, that's been done for millennium. It's the brain that they put into it was this activist bitch of a robot. Like, if the robot was just like had an attitude, that'd be one thing. But this was like literally an activist that they stuck into the Falcon's navigational computer. That's where people were like, are you fucking, like, the activist that was fucking Lando. Basically. That's what people had a problem with. If she was just like a robot with some attitude, like, what's his name from, what was the droid from Rogue One? K2SO. Or HK-47, but K2SO from Rogue One. He had an attitude. And, like, you know, like, having an attitude is fine. But she was they made her a full-on fucking activist. And that's why people were like, are you fucking kidding me? And yeah, Emperor, have you not seen the interviews with Leslie Headland and Amanda Stenberg? They in their twisted, fucked up brains, R2-D2 is a lesbian. When canonically, and I showed this on stream, canonically R2-D2 is male. In terms of an identification, in terms of ascribing a gender to R2-D2. Canonically, R2-D2 is referred to as he. No, I did it on stream. I watched it on stream, and then 5 seconds after they said that, I said, hold up. And I pulled up the video clip where, in the very first movie, episode 4, the C-3PO refers to R2 as he. Yeah, what, you were joking about? You were joking? I wasn't. Leslie Headland actually said in an interview that she canonically believes R2-D2 is a lesbian. And correct, R2-D2 is a he. I proved that on stream 5 seconds after we watched that video clip. I pulled up the Star Wars clip where C-3PO actually refers to R2-D2 as he, and I followed it up with, kindly go fuck yourself with a barbed wire dildo, Leslie Headland.
Work, bitch.
Someone needed to do that to Kathleen Kennedy. You know, sorry.
Hey,
Work,
bitch, just get. So this is coming from Forbes.
Wouldn't surprise me,
This is
JRC.
Eric Kane, and he's right in this, because like even if she does retire, Kennedy leaves behind a mixed legacy. That's in keeping with Lucasfilm tradition.
Yes,
Lucas
there
himself
was Nerf
struggled
Mouse.
to make use of the
Right.
Star Wars brand after the original trilogy. That's true. Some
And the
people
people
hated the
versus George Lucas, remember?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why he sold it. I'm gonna be honest. I think he sold it because he got tired of people shitting on.
Excuse me, citizen. It's clear Lucasfilm is run by stormtroopers, as they have missed every shot they have taken.
Andrea, nice. That's based.
On him. He got tired of hearing about the prequels and how much people didn't like the prequels. Now, shockingly, people love the prequels and they wish he would come back, but why the hell would he, you know?
You know, that's the problem with
I don't.
Everyone's success.
I don't want George Lucas to come back. Because, in case it hasn't been clear by now, bringing back your OG heroes working behind the cameras of all of these franchises never ends well. Every single time in recent years when you've had a franchise that is flagging and you bring back an OG showrunner or an OG director or what have you, it always ends bad. Every fucking time. Get some new creative blood get in there to actually write good stories, to direct good stories. Stop trying to, just like they're rebooting all of the fucking franchises in existence, they're rebooting the fucking directors and showrunners. And none of it works out. None of it. Do you need to bring in 10 years after you have not made a fucking thing with any of these, you need to bring in new blood that respects the origins of the franchise to write new, interesting, compelling stories. That is what you need. Honestly, I don't trust Dave Filoni either. People said Dave Filoni is going to be the savior of Star Wars. No, I don't fucking trust that. Look at Mandalorian Season 3. You think I trust fucking Filoni? Fuck no. Jon Favreau's hands were tied on Mandalorian Season 3, and he was not happy. He's had a lot of fucking input. A lot of input. Like, it's... If they put Filoni in charge and Favreau was there to put a leash on him, maybe. Maybe. But just bring in some creative new blood. Just bring in creative new blood that can tell a good story after it's sat in silence for 10 years. All of this needs to just not be touched for 10 years. Minimum. Because people need to forget about this absolute dumpster fire that Star Wars has become.
Successful and have a story that becomes, you know, such a pop culture phenomenon as Star Wars.
In 10 years, Dragon,
you know,
maybe.
Big moment across, you know, many generations. The only problem is,
And that's what I suggested.
It gets out of your control. It goes into the fans, and the fandom takes it where they want to take it. And no matter what you do, you're going to piss people off. That's the one bad thing.
I think with some franchises that become such a phenomenon like Star Wars, like you really can't. Unfortunately, you get trapped because you can't upset the apple cart too much because you're going to piss people off. But then they complain if you keep doing the same thing over and over again. I think in some ways, if you've got these ideas that don't really mesh with the existing franchise, like you'd be better off just doing something else. But that's the brand, right? But he's basically saying like even if they get rid of her, they don't think it's gonna come back to where it was. I don't think it's going to. And it depends on who they put in. They put another like they put some like purple haired activist in as the head of Lucasfilm.
Yeah,
it's gonna be more
like. Can you imagine if they get rid of Kathleen Kennedy and replace her with someone like Leslie Headland? You think things are gonna get any better? It's wait. That's the other question. No, I do not want this fucking job. I don't want to have anything fucking do with Disney. Disney is a cancer right now. And honestly, I think that Lucasfilm and Star Wars, Lucasfilm and Marvel needs to be taken the fuck away from Disney. They absolutely need to be taken away from Disney, and they need to go somewhere else with people that will actually respect their respective franchises. And TCC, thank you for the follow.
More of the same crap, as long as all those people at Lucasfilm, those fan-hating activists at Lucasfilm are still there, it's going to be the same crap over and over again.
I don't know if they can save it at this point in time. It's too damaged. You'd have to like literally pause it. They're not going to, because they're going to go to Mandalorian and Grogu. But you need to literally pause it and then start over a few years later.
Yeah, and that's it's interesting he brings this up, because I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. As time back, I said, Star Wars at this point basically dies with Gen X and millennials, because it doesn't mean anything to Gen Z. It doesn't mean anything to Gen Alpha.
I understand
it was a perennial
that, Kevin.
brand that they could have kept evergreen
here.
for years if they handled it right, but because they destroyed it and it's lame. They put a chick in it. They made it gay. They made it lame. Because it's so lame, kids don't care. Like, even our kids love Star Wars, but like our son especially, he knew Star Wars from the Clone Wars cartoon and from the Lego games.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't matter. He still bought all the toys. We had tons of the Galactic Heroes and the Lego Star Wars stuff. And he loved Star Wars. Just to him, Star Wars was this newer media, but that was okay. The kids were still buying the toys back then. You never saw Star Wars stuff rotting in the clearance aisle.
Now it's all at Ollie's. You don't even see the clearance aisle. It ends up at Ollie's. And
it's in bargain bins. Star Wars franchise is in bargain bins now.
Yeah,
it's in bargain bin
I don't know. I think the damage has been done. I think that the only way they could fix it, I don't know. I've given up. I mean, same with Doctor Who. Like, I don't think it can be fixed. Like you said, you'd have to.
Honestly, with the damage done to all these franchises, there is no undoing it. They need to just kill off these franchises permanently and make new ones.
I don't think they need to kill them off permanently. I do think they need to put them on ice for at minimum 10 years so people can forget about them. And then bring them back with new stories. Basically decanonize everything Disney has done with Star Wars up to this point. And as I mentioned it earlier, bring it back and start sequeling off of Return of the Jedi, using the Timothy Zahn books as the guideline for how to essentially reboot Star Wars from the time Disney took over. That's what they need to do. Reboot the Disney stuff using the Timothy Zahn storyline as your guide. Bring in all new cast. You are going to have to recast Luke, Leia, and Han. I know people are going to be upset about that, but I think if they can do a good story and the actors have good chemistry, I think people can forgive it and may actually appreciate it. And go that route. I think if they go that route, and I don't think Disney can do it. I do think a much more competent and respectful studio needs to be the one to do it. Star Wars can get back to somewhat of its former glory. That's the only way it's going to happen, and it's going to start with a 10-year hiatus. It has to. Disney, like Star Wars, Marvel, Doctor Who, Lord of the Rings, all of it. All of these franchises that have been burned to the fucking ground need to go on a minimum of a 10-year icing period so people can try and mentally scrub all of the garbage from their minds and come into all of these series as fresh. No, Timothy Zahn is a writer, Grindhouse. Timothy Zahn wrote the first EU books in the Star Wars extended fictional universe post Return of the Jedi. After Return of the Jedi, there was nothing Star Wars for many years. And then Timothy Zahn wrote a trilogy that basically launched the Star Wars EU. Yeah, Heir to the Empire was the first book, and it basically launched a massive amount of EU stories for Star Wars.
Hit pause on it. Get people.
Okay,
but the thing is,
Technopath, have
Disney
good
doesn't
night.
want to do that because Disney is like, no, we got to have a movie every 2 or 3 years to make money, make money, make money. It's like you're making anti-money at this point. What's going on is you're
they're hemorrhaging money.
spamming so much bad shit out there that when the good stuff actually does come out, and it does, sporadically we get some good stuff here and there, people don't watch it because there's so much bad.
Here's the thing too, they get like, oh, they did too much stuff, and that they had books for years, they had games for years, and none of that ruined it. It just brought the demand more because they were done well.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm saying. You can still go back and watch what you like, if you still like it, because you don't even like it at all anymore.
I don't
you can
even
still
care.
Go back and watch what you like. And if you want more Star Wars and you haven't read the books, there's a bunch of books that were written in like the 90s and early 2000s that continue what the original was, that are really good, and you can go read those. Get the audio.
That was I forget what the book series was called. It was the that was the continuation after Timothy Zahn's like Heir to the Empire trilogy. Afterward, he concluded that trilogy. Like the seeds were sown in that trilogy of Luke establishing his Jedi Academy on Yavin 4. That it sowed the seeds for that, and in the books post that, I can't remember what the series was called. That is where he established the new Jedi, the new Jedi Order, basically. And Reaper, thank you for the follow. Jedi Search. Okay, thank you, Atanachi.
Audiobooks. You can go do that and get better Star Wars than what Disney's brought.
I do too, Leo. I read like one of those, I think.
And that's the thing. I mean, honestly, the first thing they could do to try to fix Star Wars, in my opinion, is gut Galaxy's Edge, take all the sequel crap out of it, and reskin it to original trilogy, because that's the one thing that unites all Star Wars fans.
They're not gonna.
The original trilogy is too expensive.
Now, it's not going to help them.
Expensive.
Fill in Rivers of
Reskinning
America,
Galaxy's
but we can't
Edge
spend,
will
another
not help.
couple $1 million to,
people will see it as pandering. They will not do. They will ignore it even more.
Hundreds of millions of dollars to do it. But
yeah. Anyway, we're gonna wrap this up.
Yes.
So that is the rumor. If she's still there,
it's real this time, guys.
It's real. Honest to God,
maybe
it's real.
possibly.
Galaxy's Edge is
According
basically
to,
a Disney
Puck
park
News,
thing.
We'll see, but that would make sense given that she sold her house and stuff. She might be. I mean, she's in her 70s, right? And she's got to be tired of this shit. We're
But
tired
she did
of
it
her.
herself. It's like
No.
she literally kept shitting out stuff. She's sitting in the pile,
that
I'm
was
tired of shit. Well, then don't do the
the
shit.
Star Cruiser.
Don't take
It
it
was
that
the Holiday Inn in space.
Oh my God.
That
All right.
shut down after a
let's
year.
wrap it up, guys. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.
Oh, it's good. Oh my. Okay, so it's not definitive. It's not definitive that Kathleen Kennedy is going to be gone. It's like possible.
20 minutes. Video. 1.5 hour react. God, I love you, Ember. Lol.
Thank you, Rygat. Yeah, for Galaxy's Edge is basically, it's, how Disney has got different, like, lands, like, they've got Safari Land, they've got the Epcot Center, they've got, it's basically Star Wars land.
I get what you mean about a hiatus, but with how fast media is these days, if they leave for 10 years, no one is going to care after.
That's the point. That's exactly the ever-loving point. That's what they need to do. Star Wars needs to be wiped from people's minds so that when they relaunch it, people can come into it fresh. That's why it needs to be gone for 10 years, so people forget about it. Because right now, Star Wars is associated with garbage.